What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. We are back with another Diddy video, and today we are on trial day 31, and the prosecution is doing their closing arguments. So they planned on doing half their closing arguments before lunch and the other half after. So they are on lunch right now. So I'm going to give you a summary of what they talked about in their closing arguments before lunch. She started right out the gate by saying he is the leader of a criminal organization and that he doesn't take no for an answer. And she went on to say that he thought his money and power put him above the law. She also said he's into kidnapping, arson, forced labor, bribery of a security officer, and the brutal crimes of trafficking. She told us to consider two moments: the time that he put hands and feet on Cassie at the Intercontinental Hotel and then drug her back into the room, back to the freak off allegedly, and the time when him and Jane got into that big fight at her house. She then proceeded to tell them that to find him guilty of the RICO charge, they only need to have two predicate acts, and she gave them some examples of what those acts could be. So she said distribution of DRUGs, kidnapping, facilitating trafficking of Jane and Cassie, forced labor and travel for commercial sex, and cover up. And then she went into the DRUG distribution. She said that it doesn't matter if these quantities were small quantities, it's the act of them distributing them to one another. She said that we all know who the DRUG dealers are. We know Guido, we know One Stop, we know Baby Girl. And the security guards were facilitating these DRUG distributions by obtaining them and then giving them to Diddy, where he would give them to Jane and Cassie during the freak offs or hotel nights. There was a time when Diddy made one of his assistants, Brendan Paul, try what's called Tussie. That's some type of DRUG. He made him try it to make sure that it was good. So that was him giving Brendan the DRUG. But yeah, she really emphasized that the amounts were not an element of the crime. So it doesn't matter if they were small amounts. It's the fact that they got them and they distributed them. And it doesn't matter that there was not a sale. It's still distribution of DRUGs. And then she made mention that KK knew about the DRUGs that he gave to Cassie and Jane during the Wild King nights. Then they kind of started to get into the kidnapping. So they talked about the time that he had put hands and feet on Cassie and had bruised her up, and she tried to run away, but he got his security guard Roger Bonds to go and get her and make her stay at the London hotel for a week, and so nobody could see her while she healed. And she was saying that she wanted to leave, she wanted to go to her mom. That's what the prosecution was saying, that Cassie didn't want to stay there. Um she was held without her consent. And then she talked about the time where he made Capricorn Clark take a lie detector test for 5 days after she was robbed while she was holding on to his jewelry. And he told her that if she didn't pass the lie detector test, that he was going to throw her in the river. And then on another occasion, after he found out that Kid Cudi and Cassie were together, he made Capricorn Clark go with him to allegedly go unalive Kid Cudi. But he made her go with him while him and Rue broke into the house and allegedly opened up Kid Cudi's Christmas presents and terrorized his dogs. So that was two instances that he kidnapped Capricorn Clark. They talked about the bribery with Eddie Garcia, the security guard of the Intercontinental, where he asked him for the footage and Eddie said he couldn't get it, but he ended up asking his boss, and his boss said, if he gives me 50K, we'll get him the video. And then he told Diddy, and Diddy called him Eddie, my angel. I knew you could do it. Gave him 100K in exchange for the footage and had him sign an NDA. And then they talked about how he would dangle stuff over Jane's head to keep her doing these hotel nights. How he would talk about he wasn't going to pay the rent for somebody that he wasn't with, how he would buy her gifts, or how he would promise to spend time with her when she would say that she didn't want to do the hotel nights anymore. And then they brought up the fact that even if a person consents one time, it doesn't mean that they consent every time. They talked about a time where he was having Jane fly out to meet him, and she was saying that she didn't want to do a hotel night. She wanted to spend time with him, and he said he was going to take her to dinner and all this stuff, and they weren't going to do a hotel night. But at the same time that he was talking to Jane, telling her that they weren't going to do a hotel night, he was actually planning a hotel night, and he was talking to an entertainer named Paul and setting that up for him and Jane while she was still on the airplane. Okay, and then the last thing that she touched on was the huge fight that Diddy and Jane had at her house that time when she was upset about the younger girl that he was seeing, and she pushed his head into the marble, and then he hit her twice and chased her, and he got in the shower with her and slapped her and all this crazy stuff. And she brought up the fact that he kicked down 3 of her doors that day and then forced her to have a freak off with an entertainer named Anton. So they brought that up, and that's pretty much the summary of what they talked about in the closing arguments before lunch. I'll be back with another video on the second half of the closing arguments. If you like this video, please hit the like. If you want more videos like this, please consider subscribing, and thank you so much for watching.